Happy Arvo. Hello. Thank you so much for joining me on this liquidation day, the beautiful day after Liberation Day, where we imposed a 10% tariff. Oh, I didn't. I'm not taking any credit for this, okay, guys? Trump imposed a 10% tariff on Australia, along with much higher tariffs on most of the rest of the world. And really, this is the main thing on my mind. So, I just wanted to see what Albanese's response to this was. And apparently he did respond to it. So SBS News has this clip. Check them out, link down below. I mean, if you want to know my opinion, it's pretty obvious. This is just stupid. It's all just stupid. It's incredibly reckless. And the numbers on that chart just seem to be pulled out of someone's butt. I'm not sure who. Not mine. Let's see. I want to know what Albanese has to say. It's pretty embarrassing, I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm nervous to hear what he has to say, you know what I mean? I feel like he's going to be mad at me.
This is not the act of a friend. The unilateral action that the Trump administration has taken today against every nation in the world does not come as a surprise. For Australia,
it came as a real shock to me, I'm not going to lie. I mean, it was worse than most people's worst expectations. It was worse.
These tariffs are not unexpected, but let me be clear.
But yeah, I mean, I see what he's saying. The tariffs aren't unexpected as a thing. Just the rates are way higher than expected.
But let me be clear. They are totally unwarranted. President Trump referred to reciprocal tariffs. A reciprocal tariff would be 0, not 10%.
Wow, there you go. That about sums it up, huh? How are you going to call it reciprocal tariffs? And then he said this is half the tariff rate. You know, so apparently 10 is half of Australia. You know, I guess you guys have a 20% tariff on ours. Actually, in his chart, for some reason, Australia just said 10 and 10. You know what I'm talking about? Anyway.
The administration's tariffs have no basis in logic, and they go against the basis of our two nations partnership. This is,
even more importantly, I'd say,
not the act of a friend. Today's decision will add to uncertainty in the global economy, and it will push up costs for American households. It is the American people who will pay the biggest price for these unjustified tariffs.
Probably.
This is why...
I mean, it's not good for anybody involved in the transaction, you know what I'm saying? It's just bad. It's just bad. It just adds friction to the entire world trade. It just disincentivizes trade with America in general.
Our government will...
And therefore also cuts off a major market for all these other countries, you know, the American economy. But then also cuts off us from accessing the global market. It's just bad. It's just... I love freedom too much to be in favor of tariffs. I like free trade. I thought Republicans did too. I mean, I don't know.
This is why our government will not be seeking to...
Sorry, I'm not trying to get very, political.
...impose reciprocal tariffs. We will not join a race to the bottom that leads to higher prices and slower growth. We will stand up for Australia. We will continue to make the strongest case for these unjustified tariffs to be removed from our exporters. Our existing free trade agreement with the United States contains dispute resolution mechanisms. We want to resolve...
So does this directly actually impede on a trade agreement we already had? Like, does this break that? Because that's just pretty shameful.
This issue without resorting to using these, as we do support continued constructive engagement with our friends in the United States. Our shared history, our friendship, our alliance, these are all bigger than a poor decision. But the Australian people...
That's good. I do like to hear this. You know what I mean? That does make me feel happy, and I hope this is kind of a temporary blip. Hopefully. I don't know.
Will have every right to view this action by the Trump administration as undermining our free and fair trading relationship and counter to the shared values that have always been at the heart of our two nations' long-standing friendship. This will have consequences for how Australians see this relationship. These are uncertain times, but Australians can be absolutely certain of this. Our government will always stand up for Australian jobs, Australian industry, Australian consumers and Australian values. That is why we've been crystal clear with the United States about what is not up for negotiation. Australia is a great trading nation. 1 in 4 of our jobs depends upon trade. But we'll never trade away the things which make us the best country in the world. The Pharmaceutical Benefits Scheme is an Australian institution, a proud Labor creation that my government has built on. The investments we're making in the PBS mean that life-saving and life-changing medicines, which would otherwise cost people thousands of dollars, will be no more than $25 a script. Under Labor, that will never be up for negotiation. We don't want our health system to be more American, we only want it to
I don't think most people do.
be more Australian. The same is true for agriculture. We have made it very clear to the United States that we will not compromise on biosecurity. We will not weaken the measures that protect our farmers and producers from the risks of disease or contamination. Indeed, we've made it a priority to strengthen biosecurity, because one of the things that makes Australian food and fibre the best in the world is that people everywhere know that it stands for quality, it also stands for safety.
Yeah, that's not what American food is known for, let's be honest. So you can't really, I mean, can you really blame another country for not, like, I don't even have a strong opinion about all that, but it's just like, it just feels so, like, weak to be like, why aren't you buying our beef? Come on, buy our genetically modified beef. That's mean. I just don't get that. And you guys have a different standard probably than ours.
Another key point was technology. Our government stands by our media bargaining code. We strongly support local content in streaming services so Australian stories stay on Australian screens. And we have no intention of repealing the world-leading legislation that we passed with overwhelming support that set the minimum age for social media at 16.
What does this have to do with tariffs? I'm a little bit confused about that.
Policy is about what's best for Australian children and Australian parents.
I guess, did that piss off like Facebook and stuff? I really don't know.
These are our priorities.
I'm just thinking of how it relates to America.
We stand up for Australia's interests. While we have an important trading relationship with the United States, it's important to put this in some perspective. It only accounts for less than 5% of our exports.
Really?
Many other countries will be hit much harder by today's decision than Australia.
Wow.
And because it is across the board, with no exemptions of course, there's an argument actually about comparative impact of this decision made by President Trump that puts us in a position where I think no nation is better prepared than Australia for what has occurred today. For 3 years, my government has been working to make Australia's economy more resilient and our exports more diverse. We've deepened our economic engagement in Northeast Asia, Southeast Asia and India, the fastest growing region of the world in human history. We are implementing our...
Yeah, from what I hear about these other countries, it almost just sounds like America's going to be like left behind a little bit. You know, they're all going to kind of move on. Even though in Australia's case, you guys don't even want to move on without us, but it's just like, or at least didn't. Yeah, they're just like trying to form coalitions of free trade. And, I mean, he just said America's only 5% of exports from Australia. So it's really not that big a deal. They can find other buyers. You know, it might not be worth it once you add a 10% tariff. Luckily, it's only 10% for Australia. That's far from the highest tariff. Well, 10% is still a high tariff.
Southeast Asia Economic Strategy, developed by Nicholas Moore, and I thank him and give a shout out to him yet again for the extraordinary work that he did on behalf of the nation that he loves. Our roadmap for economic engagement with India is what we launched here in Melbourne at Monash University just a month ago. This is about delivering for Australian businesses in what will be the third largest economy in the world. We've signed a new trade agreement with the United Arab Emirates, a tribute to the guy on my left here for the nature of that. What that has done is open up the markets of the Middle East through the UAE. We're boosting exports of Australian beef and red meat, expanding trade with the UK, European Union and Indonesia. And
see what I mean? Expanding trade with everybody else. I wonder who's getting, whose trade is being contracted then. Or contracting. Probably the one that just imposed tariffs on you.
Of course, we've cleared away over $20 billion in trade impediments with China, backing local manufacturing with our Future Made in Australia plan, investing in the skills, technology and energy to make more things here and stand on our own 2 feet. We're building on these actions today. First, we will strengthen our anti-dumping regime to safeguard key sectors like steel, aluminium and manufacturing against unfair competition. Second, we will provide $50 million to affected sectors, particularly through peak bodies such as the National Farmers Federation, to secure and grow new markets for their world-class products. This work will be backed by 5 new business and investment missions to priority markets within the first 100 days of our second term.
Okay, I think I got the gist of what he was responding to as far as directly responding to Trump and the tariffs. Oh man, no comments. Are you kidding me? I was going to read some comments. Overall, I think this response was really good. I think it was level-headed, which is nice to see. I'm a little bit jealous of that aspect of it. You know, not jumping to any rash conclusions or reciprocations. Is that the right word? Okay, I found a thread on Reddit in the Australian subreddit about it, so let's see some comments. Wonder what happens now to free trade agreement now that we have... now to the free trade agreement that we have with the U.S. Well, apparently it doesn't matter anymore. And we effectively just voided it, I guess. Cool, does this mean we get cheap Australian... Oh my gosh, what have I done? Does this mean we get cheap Australian beef like we got cheap red wine and lobsters with China when China did it? Oh, did China impose tariffs on you guys? That actually makes sense that it would decrease prices in Australia, at least, you know, temporarily as supply is adjusted. Because all of a sudden you have a pretty big market. I guess America imports a pretty big amount of beef from Australia. So you're going to have all that beef that's, you know, not as much of it is going to be exported. So you're going to have a surplus of beef. That's good. So maybe inflation will come down a little bit in Australia at my expense. I can't believe Dutton's response to this was that Trump... Oh, okay. I was wondering what Dutton's response would be. Trump has to put forward a negotiating position. Like this is some kind of negotiation with a sane individual. F that. I'm all for suggestions. We get moving on the EU, FTA, and just slowly move away from any kind of deals with America in general. Okay, so that was Dutton's response, was that he's like open to a negotiation if Trump would at least, you know, like some kind of move, say what he wants. Because right now it doesn't even make sense. Like, what exactly do you want? Because Australia doesn't have a 10% tariff on America. So, like, it's not like Australia can just cut their tariff from down to 0 and Trump will say, okay, you did it, so now, you know. Because it doesn't exist. Retaliate with the tariff on Teslas and Yank tanks. A lot of people would support the Yank tank tariff. I believe that. I know that. Wow, guys. What a day. What a world. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow for this week.